Picture this. Your teenager used to tell you everything. Now you're lucky if you get more than a grunt when you ask how their day went. You wonder what changed, when it happened, and most importantly, how to get that connection back. If you've been feeling like you're losing your teen, you're not alone. Today, we're diving deep into 10 parent habits that quietly destroy the trust between you and your teenager. These aren't the obvious mistakes like yelling or being absent. These are the subtle behaviours that even well-meaning parents fall into that slowly but surely push their teens away. Before we jump in, I need you to know something. This isn't about parent shaming. We've all made these mistakes. I've made these mistakes. The goal here is awareness and change, because once you recognise these patterns, you can start rebuilding that bridge to your teenager's heart. Let's start with habit number 1, and this one might surprise you. The constant phone monitoring. You check their texts, scroll through their social media, demand passwords to everything. You tell yourself it's about safety, but here's what your teenager hears. I don't trust you to make good decisions. I don't believe you're capable of handling your own life. Your privacy doesn't matter. Think about it from their perspective. Imagine if your boss or your spouse constantly went through your phone, your computer, your personal conversations. How would that feel? Now multiply that feeling, because teenagers are in a crucial developmental stage where they're supposed to be separating from you and forming their own identity. When you invade their privacy as a default, rather than addressing specific concerns, you're teaching them that trust is something they have to earn, rather than something they deserve. This creates one of two outcomes. Either they become incredibly sneaky, learning to hide everything from you, or they become so dependent on your approval that they never develop their own judgment. Here's a better approach. Privacy should be the default, not a privilege. If you have specific safety concerns, address those directly. Talk about your worries. Set clear expectations about dangerous situations. But don't surveil their entire life, hoping to catch problems before they happen. When teens know you respect their need for privacy, they're actually more likely to come to you when something serious happens because they trust that you see them as a person, not a problem to monitor. Habit number 2 might be even more damaging. The emotional withdrawal punishment. Your teen disappoints you, makes a choice you don't like, or pushes back against your rules, and you go cold. Silent treatment, passive-aggressive comments, dramatic sighs that could power a small wind turbine. You're not just correcting their behavior, you're withdrawing your emotional availability. This teaches your teenager that your love comes with conditions, that when they mess up, they don't just face consequences, they risk losing your affection entirely. This is incredibly damaging because teenagers are supposed to test boundaries. That's literally how they figure out who they are separate from you. When you make their normal developmental process about your hurt feelings, you force them into an impossible choice. Be authentic and risk losing your love, or suppress who they are to keep you emotionally stable. Neither option is healthy. Instead of going cold when they disappoint you, try this. Separate the behavior from the relationship. You can be upset about what they did while still maintaining your emotional connection. Say something like, I'm really disappointed in your choice, and I love you. We need to talk about consequences, and you're still my kid, and nothing changes that. Habit number 3 is the expertise assumption trap. You think because you were once a teenager, you automatically understand what it's like to be a teenager today. But here's the reality check. You were a teenager before social media turned every moment into a performance, before school shootings became routine lockdown drills, before college costs became more expensive than buying a house, before mental health became a daily conversation rather than something whispered about in shame. When your teen comes to you with anxiety about their social media presence or stress about their future and you respond with, "Back in my day, we didn't have these problems," you're essentially telling them their world doesn't matter and their struggles aren't real. This doesn't mean their problems are all insurmountable or that previous generations didn't face challenges. It means their specific challenges deserve to be understood on their own terms. Instead of comparing their experience to yours, get curious about what it's actually like to grow up in their world. Ask questions like, what's the hardest part about social media for you? How does it feel to grow up with active shooter drills? What kind of pressure do you feel about college and your future? When you validate their experience without minimizing it, you become a safe person for them to open up to. When you dismiss their world as just drama, you become someone they stop confiding in. Habit number 4 is turning every conversation into a performance review. How are your grades? Did you finish your homework? Have you thought about what colleges want to see on your application? You're so focused on their achievements that you forget to connect with who they actually are as a person. Your teenager starts to feel like your love is contingent on their success. They learn that your attention comes with strings attached. Some kids burn out trying to chase perfect grades and impressive extracurriculars. Others give up entirely, thinking if they can't be the best, why try at all? Both groups learn the same devastating lesson. I can't come to my parent when I'm struggling because disappointing them might break our relationship. Here's what they actually need. Someone who's interested in their thoughts, their dreams, their fears, their sense of humor. Someone who asks about their friends, not because they're screening for bad influences, but because they genuinely want to know about the people who matter to their kid. Try shifting some of your conversations away from performance metrics. Instead of, how did you do on that test? Try, what was the most interesting thing you learned this week? Instead of, have you thought about your college application? Try, what kind of life do you imagine for yourself? When they know you love them for who they are, not just what they achieve, they stop being afraid of falling short. Habit number 5 is the problem minimization response. Your teen comes to you upset about something, friendship drama, a disappointment, a fear they have, and your first instinct is to minimize it. Don't worry, in 5 years, none of this will matter. That sounds like typical teenager stuff. You'll be fine. You think you're helping them gain perspective, but from their point of view, you just hung a giant closed sign on your emotional availability. What feels small to you with your decades of life experience might be earth-shattering to them, because this is their first time experiencing it. When you brush off their concerns, they learn that their feelings only count if you happen to agree with the significance of the situation. This is how kids stop opening up. They figure, if it's not a crisis-level emergency, why bother bringing it to you? So they bottle up their emotions until one day the pressure becomes too much and they explode over something seemingly minor, like forgetting to take out the trash. Instead of minimizing, try validating first and problem-solving second. Say something like, wow, that sounds really hard. Do you want to vent about it, or would you like help figuring out what to do? Let them tell you what kind of support they need. Sometimes they just need to be heard and understood, not fixed. Habit number 6 is the crisis-only availability. You only really tune in when something's going dramatically wrong. Grades are dropping, there's a big problem with friends, they're in trouble at school. Suddenly you're all ears, completely focused, ready to jump into action. But during the calm, everyday moments, you're distracted by work, household tasks, your phone. Everything except actually connecting with your kid. This teaches your teenager that they only matter when something's wrong. They start associating your attention with crisis, which creates a really unhealthy dynamic. Either they hide their problems to avoid the stress and drama, or they start creating small emergencies just to get a hit of connection with you. Real relationship building happens during the boring moments. The car rides where nothing special happens, but you actually listen to their random thoughts. The late-night kitchen conversations over leftover pizza. The casual check-ins where you ask how their day was and you genuinely want to hear the answer. If you only show up during emergencies, you become like a hospital. necessary when something's broken, but not a place anyone wants to hang out. Instead, try being like a coffee shop, always open, low pressure, comfortable, no appointment necessary. Bonus points if you occasionally have good snacks. Habit number 7 is the comparison trap. You compare your teen to their siblings, to their friends, to the kid down the street who seems to have it all figured out. Why can't you be more responsible like your sister? Look how motivated Jake is about soccer. Maybe you should try harder. I wish you cared about school like Emma does. Nothing damages a teenager's self-esteem quite like feeling that they don't measure up in their parents' eyes. When you constantly hold them up against other people, you're essentially telling them they're not good enough as they are. They need to be someone else to earn your approval. This creates kids who either become people pleasers, constantly trying to mold themselves into whatever they think you want, or kids who give up entirely because they figure they'll never be good enough anyway, so why try? Instead of comparing them to others, help them become the best version of themselves. Celebrate their unique strengths. Acknowledge their individual progress. Help them compete with who they were yesterday, not with who someone else is today. Habit number 8 is comparing yourself to other parents. You see other families on social media, hear about other parents' rules and expectations, and start second-guessing yourself. Maybe you should be stricter like Jennifer's mum. Maybe you should be more laid back like David's parents. You lose sight of what actually works for your specific kid and your specific family. When you're constantly looking sideways at what other parents are doing, you stop being present with your own teen. You start implementing rules and expectations based on what looks good from the outside, rather than what actually serves your family's needs and values. Every teenager is different. Every family situation is unique. What works for someone else's kid might be completely wrong for yours. Focus on your relationship with your teenager and what they specifically need from you, not on keeping up with some imaginary standard of perfect parenting. Habit number 9 is jumping on their emotional roller coaster. Your teen comes home in a terrible mood, and suddenly you're in a terrible mood too. They're stressed about something, and now you're stressed about their stress. They're upset with you, and you take it personally and get defensive or hurt. Here's the thing. Teenagers' emotions are intense, and they change quickly. That's normal and healthy. It's part of how their developing brain learns to process feelings and experiences. When you get pulled into every emotional wave, you stop being the stable presence they actually need. Your job isn't to fix every feeling or prevent every disappointment. Your job is to stay emotionally regulated yourself, so you can be a safe harbor when their emotions feel overwhelming. This means learning to respond rather than react, taking a breath before jumping in, offering support without taking on their emotions as your own. You can validate their feelings without absorbing them. You can be empathetic without becoming emotionally dysregulated yourself. When you stay calm and stable, you teach them that emotions are temporary and manageable, and you give them a secure base to return to when the storm passes. And finally, habit number 10, the control obsession. You try to control every aspect of your teenager's life: their schedule, their friends, their activities, their attitude, even their facial expressions. You think you're guiding them, but they feel like they're under surveillance for the crime of being a teenager. The more tightly you grip, the more they pull away. They start hiding things, not because they're doing anything terrible, but because having any sense of autonomy feels impossible under your constant management. This creates kids who either become incredibly sneaky or incredibly dependent, unable to make decisions without checking with you first. Here's the truth that's hard for many parents to accept. You cannot control your teenager into becoming a healthy adult. You can only connect with them into becoming one. Control focuses on compliance. Connection focuses on relationship. Control is about power over. Connection is about influence with. Instead of trying to control every choice they make, focus on what you actually can control. Your own boundaries, your family values, the environment you create at home. Set clear expectations about respect, safety, and family responsibilities. Then give them room to make choices within those boundaries. Remember, your teenager is practicing being an adult. They need opportunities to make decisions, experience consequences, and learn from their mistakes while they still have your support and guidance. So what does it look like to rebuild trust with your teenager? Start by acknowledging that trust is built through small, consistent actions over time. It's not one big conversation or one perfect parenting moment. It's showing up day after day in ways that demonstrate respect, understanding, and unconditional love. Listen more than you talk. Ask questions that show you're genuinely curious about their inner world, not just fishing for information to judge or fix. Validate their experiences, even when you don't fully understand them. Admit when you make mistakes, and apologize sincerely when you mess up. Give them appropriate privacy and independence while maintaining connection. Show interest in who they are as a person, not just how they're performing in school or activities. Be emotionally available during the calm moments, not just during crises. Most importantly, remember that some distance during the teenage years is normal and healthy. They're supposed to be figuring out who they are separate from you. The goal isn't to maintain the same closeness you had when they were little. The goal is to evolve your relationship so it can grow with them as they become adults. If you recognize yourself in some of these habits, don't panic. Relationships can be repaired, trust can be rebuilt. Your teenager wants a relationship with you, even when they seem like they don't. Even when they roll their eyes or slam doors or act like you're the most embarrassing person on the planet. Deep down, they want to know that you see them, you understand them, and you love them exactly as they are. If this video helped you recognize some patterns you want to change, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. What's one small step you're going to take to rebuild trust with your teenager? And if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe because we have so many more conversations about raising teenagers with confidence and connection. Remember, parenting teenagers isn't about being perfect. It's about being real, being present, and being willing to grow alongside the amazing young adult your kid is becoming.